Hi, I'm Rob Schaefer. For more than 30 years, I served as a Green Beret, U.S. diplomat, leadership mentor, and entrepreneur operating environments where the word impossible was simply a baseline for the mission. We created this podcast with one specific mission to show you how to achieve the impossible routinely. This week, the Pentagon made an announcement that most of the country missed, but that every leader watching this needs to understand. The Defense Autonomous Warfare Group, DAWG, just requested a budget increase from $226 million to $54 billion in one budget cycle for autonomous systems, drones, unmanned combat platforms, self-organizing machines of war. Now, before your eyes glaze over, I want you to hear what this actually means. It means the United States military has decided right now that the future of warfighting is autonomous, and they need someone to build it. And here's where it gets interesting from a leadership and biology standpoint. Most organizations, including most defense contractors, are going to look at a $54 billion mandate and kind of freeze. So the amygdala does not distinguish between a threat and an opportunity when both arrive at the scale of the impossible. So a lot of folks are going to say we can't scale that fast, especially a lot of the smaller folks who would like to get involved with something like this, but don't think they're going to be able to do it. They're going to say we don't have the workforce, we don't have the manufacturing, we don't have the relationships. And they'll be right, unless somebody in that room can kind of act as a circuit breaker and get them out of that cycle. And somebody who we call a circuit breaker doesn't deny the size of the challenge. They don't pretend the mountain isn't there. They just make sure that they inoculate themselves and the team against the paralysis that that kind of mountain creates. And then they start building. And this is why I have Randall Cottrell on the show today. Randall is the founder and CEO of Blue Gyra Incorporated, a defense and advanced manufacturing company operating across autonomous systems, aviation training, and logistics technology. He holds an active Air Force contract for Truck, an autonomous ground cargo handling system designed to load and unload military aircraft without putting airmen at risk, and a training contract with the United States Air Force Test Pilot School. He didn't come from Lockheed. He didn't come from Raytheon. He's came from the Marine Corps. He was and once he got out, he built an autonomous defense capability before the mandate even existed from the ground up on faith, instinct, and a motto that every Green Beret would recognize: nec timere, nec timide, neither rashly nor timidly. He named his company Blue Gyra from the Hebrew Jehovah Jireh, meaning the perfect provider. And in a defense contracting world built on relationships and political capital, that is either the bravest or the boldest thing I've ever heard. I'll let you tell him which one it is. Randall, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to be here.
All right, well, great, man. So every interview that you've done talks about the Chuck Yeager flight, but I want to kind of go past the story a little bit. So maybe tell us about that a little bit, but what did he do in the cockpit that day that you've never been able to unsee as a leader? Kind of what's the behavior?
Uh, Man, there's two things I saw in that cockpit. I saw what I call explicit knowledge, all-encompassing knowledge, um, and then I saw a confidence that went with it. It was epic. So what that means is I'm a pilot, and I know airplanes to some extent, right? This guy knows how the airplane vibrates, how it shudders, how it feels during every maneuver. He left the cockpit open. He slid it back during takeoff and flight. And I'm like, why are you doing that? He's like, we don't need it closed. Let's keep the airflow. And my mind was full of, the fear of like, what happens? I got sucked out of this thing or, you know, fall out. He didn't bat an eye at with my response. He's all right, whatever. And we flew. During the flight, he handed me the stick. He said, "Your controls. Take the stick, and it's between my legs." And I obviously never done that as a kid. And he's like, "Just
But you
do
were
whatever
you
you
were
want."
you were in Civil Air Patrol at the time, right?
No, I wasn't in Civil Air Patrol at the time.
Oh, this was before that. Okay.
Right before, so I joined Civil Air Patrol about 6 months later. I
Well,
mean, I was
probably as a result of that, right? So,
yeah,
anyways,
yeah.
yeah. So he gave you the
So
stick, and then
gave me the stick, and he said, "Just do whatever you want to do." And when you learn about Chuck Yeager, you learn he's test pilot, learn he's crashed, learn he's been through everything with airplanes. But to say just do whatever, let me know that no matter what I did, it would be recoverable. So just like insane knowledge and confidence, despite the variable in the cockpit, which was me, sitting behind him. So yeah, it was incredible. It was
and
incredible.
then so what did you like when you went in the Marines and then later started the company, like that sounds like that stuck with you. But what are the big lessons that you took that you've always then made sure that you incorporate?
One of the big ones for me is that when you know. And that's what I saw in front of me, the guy sitting in front of me in Santa aircraft. But when you don't know, you don't know. And if you don't know all of it, you don't know. So the idea people have that knowledge is good enough, no, it's false. It's false. There's too many variables. Either you know all that there is to know, either you basically you're in the military, either you read the SOP or you did not read the SOP. Knowing how to operate an airplane is very simple actually, but knowing the characteristics of all parts of it, from fuel starvation to the ailerons going up and down, the tail wag, all those things tell a story to him, and not they weren't telling a story to me. So what I took with me in life was that um, you really you don't know what you don't know, and approaching things from that perspective, I did the opposite for a long time, and it cost me greatly. I'd like to know everything. I like to know everybody, every variable associated with what I'm doing, and that has saved me. It doesn't you don't always get it. You don't always get that opportunity, but um, that has saved me. It made my ears stay open, my eyes stay open, and it made me. This is going to sound funny, but uh, uh, Martin Luther King had a guy working with him, and I don't necessarily sign off on Martin Luther King totally, but he said something that stuck with me. This guy working with him was talking about another guy. His dad worked in the White House. He was a butler, and he said, "Man, my dad's a coward. He's not helping, and yada yada." And Martin Luther King said, "Well, no, he's subversive. He's the most powerful person that you know." Say, how could you say that? Because he hears everything and has a mandate not to say anything, but he hears everything. And I love that position of being able to hear and listen versus always be the one talking. I spent years talking, and now I'm starting to listen and become the guy that has the knowledge that I have the ability to execute like Chuck Yeager has or had. He's dead now. But that combination of knowledge and access, and then the confidence to do it, it makes me feel like I can be a test pilot. And the ironic thing is, I have a contract with test pilot school.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah,
And ironically, the point in your life where you feel like you should be listening more and talking less is the time actually when you have the most to say, and people are going to ask you more, right? So
yeah,
that's
absolutely.
kind of what happens when you get to the point where it becomes more than just knowledge and it starts to become some wisdom. So you were in the Civil Air Patrol, you joined that, and then but you didn't earn your private pilot certification until you were 40. So that's a 26-year gap. And some people might say that, there's an insult there somehow or another that it took you 26 years to get your pilot's license. So what happened in that window, and what what built you a line that got you back onto that?
Yeah, so I've been dealing with what's called a scarcity mindset, and that is generated by what you see or don't see, and then you develop it into a thought and habit and a lifestyle. And I realized that I had access to all this stuff, but didn't have the I didn't know I could go get it and use it. It's really strange. It's really strange, and I'm still working on that now as an adult. But that gap for me was part scarcity, part focus, and and really not listening to the little boy in me that now I hear very loudly that's screaming, "Go fly, go fly." So now I'm listening to the little boy again, who my wife echoes. She's like, "Go fly, go fly," and I'm like, "Okay." So that's what the gap was, scarcity, focus, and just not listening to what was true, built into my being from childhood. I didn't listen to the Chuck Yeager moment, and I really should have listened to that moment.
So, for anybody who's watching that's not familiar with kind of the difference between the scarcity mindset and the abundance mentality, so scarcity mindset is there's a pie, and there's only so many pieces of the pie, and the scarcity mindset is like, okay, I've got to get kind of the biggest piece of the pie that I can. And a lot of times that prevents us from seeing other opportunities because it often puts us at odds with people that we could be working cooperatively with. Now, the abundance mindset is that, you know what? We're not going to fight over the pie. We're going to work together and we're just going to make more pies. And
Mhm.
so that together we're going to end up getting far more than we would have had we, stayed in this abundance mentality. But most leaders actually are in that abundance mentality because it's hard to get out of that. I mean, it's kind of what everybody's been trained to do. You think there's only so much credit to go around. You
Right.
think that there's only so much this stuff. So moving beyond that scarcity mindset into an abundance mentality is kind of what you do when you start to get to the higher echelons of being a great leader. So now you're a Marine, and at some point you walked out of that world, decided to build a defense company from scratch. So you didn't have a Lockheed badge, no Raytheon Rolodex, no Beltway connections. So what happened between the day that you took off your uniform and the day you had your first real government contract? What'd you have to figure out fast that nobody prepared you for?
What was true and what was false? When you listen to staff sergeants talk, they really don't know anything about anything regarding business or military. You know, I mean, most people don't. Most people in the military don't know anything about the defense business. So I had to let go of some of the assumptions and some of what I was told. But the big thing, honestly, was Marine Corps didn't necessarily spark anything. Um, it didn't really spark anything. I saw more afterwards than I ever did in it. Um, so I'll say that I knew I was a patriot. I just wasn't meant to be an enlisted field artillery guy, field radio operator. You know what I mean? But I knew I was a patriot, and I knew that it was part of my DNA. My father, grandfather. You know what I mean? I knew it was there. So for me, the transition wasn't hard, except for the lies, except for the assumptions, except for the kind of what I heard in passing, and what I didn't hear, which I wish I had heard.
Yeah, you brought that up earlier. That's a huge thing for a lot of people. I tell a lot of folks, look for what's not there. That oftentimes because the most dangerous thing that we have is not knowing that we don't know something,
Hmm.
right? It's not that we don't know, it's that we don't know that we don't know something. And so looking for those blind spots aggressively is what I constantly tell people is one of the best things that you can do. I've designed some actual tools to make that happen as well. But yeah, most worst thing that can happen is not knowing that you don't know because you don't even know what direction you're supposed to be going in. That's
Yeah,
I'm glad you mentioned that earlier.
yeah.
So now you named your defense company after a Hebrew name for God,
Hmm.
Jehovah Jireh, the perfect provider. So in a world of Lockheeds and Raytheons, that's a declaration, right? That's a very different kind of mindset than
Oh yeah.
the big companies and all those things that those go to. So what were you putting on the door when you first put that name on it? And has it ever cost you a contract?
I didn't know why I named it that. I didn't have some deep spiritual moment. I remember driving, it was 2005, and I was like, I want to open my own company. I had a small one before, kind of ready to go, to this new space. It's like, man, I was like, you know, I don't know if I truly prayed. You know what I mean? I don't know that I really prayed. I remember seeing a tag in front of me though, as I was thinking about it. Maybe God just heard it because I was like, man, I gotta find my company name. I saw Gyra on a car tag. I was like, well, I've seen that in church before. I know what that means, well, yeah, provider. Okay, great. And then it just hit me like a flash. My favorite color is blue, blue Gyra. That's it. And I went forward, and it didn't take long for me to go, what? Yeah, divine inspiration. And it didn't take me long to go like, oh my gosh, wait a minute. This I don't know what I just did because it has nothing to do with anything that I talk about. So, but I went through that, and has it cost me a contract? Yeah, yeah. I haven't seen the full effect of it like in person, except for one time, and that was with Teledyne Brown, big company, big company. Teledyne Brown. We were at the table, big time, and we're gonna do some work with them. And I remember them asking about the name, and it's one of the higher ups, and I explained it, and she goes, "Is that like in?" I was like, "In what?" And she goes, "Is that like in?" You know, I was like, "In the Bible or in church?" She's like, "Uh." I was like, say it. And I don't know what came over me, but I was like, just say it. Say it. You can say this. And not long after, we found out, no deal. Yeah. And it was strange. It was strange. Very strange. But I have, yeah, it has changed some dynamics in relationships. Yeah.
So maybe that. So when you stepped into defense contracting as a non-traditional founder, right? No legacy brand, no real connections. What was the fear that came on at some point that nobody warned you about? The one that doesn't make the pitch deck. And the reason I'm talking a lot about fear is that in the book when chapter 5, I've done enough research. I can 97.5% of all leadership failures, of bad leadership behaviors, 97.5 are based on fear. And you can, and I've got the spreadsheet, I'm happy to show it to you, but every single, except for 5, right? You might just not have enough training. You might just be a bad person to begin with. There might be something mentally wrong with you. You might be too tired. You know what I mean? But other than that, every single thing else you can map, I have mapped to a fight, flight, or fear response. And in general, almost all of them can be mapped to all of them in multiple ways. So that's why I talk about fear a lot. So fear is the number one uh, thing that prevents people from becoming great leaders or epic leaders. So that's why we spend a lot of time on fear here, is to talk about those things. So kind of what was the fear that nobody warned you about that at some point or another you had to face when starting a company with really no connections at all?
Man. Yeah, it's funny. I think about this a lot because there was nobody to go to. For a long time, there's nobody to talk to about what was happening with me. One of the roughest things for me was a fear developed based on how I saw myself. That sucked. There's nobody more racist than yourself to yourself. You know what I mean? There's nobody more critical to yourself than yourself. There's nobody more brutal, nobody more abusive. So that was one thing. But I ended up developing a fear of growth. That was a major issue. And then those two were the biggest. But there's one that was tricky that I really wish I actually have a heart for, because the first two you can mitigate pretty well. You can talk people through that. But the one that really got me was the fear of being able to stand in integrity no matter what the situation was. And not just integrity about telling the truth, but about making the best possible decision. About not just the honest decision, but the decision that is going to be the hard decision. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Integrity has become a very broad thing to me. And when the Latin that you saw in my email, next to me, when you act irrationally, you can get out of character. And getting out of character can usually take you out of integrity, even if it's just with yourself. And that
That's
scared me for a long time. Now I'm going through retarded stuff now, insane stuff. I got total peace,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah. So I like to tell people that they should think about integrity in a different way. So think about integrity the same way that we think about the structural integrity of a steel beam or a building. So our integrity is so important to us, and that being true to ourselves, exactly, and being whole. So when a building has lost its structural integrity, right, something is going to happen. It's lost its ability to perform at 100%. And I think that we need to think about our personal integrity in the same way. Anytime that we do anything that is going to take away from that integrity, we literally are now reducing our ability to operate at 100%. We are sacrificing our own structural integrity. We're sacrificing our ability to operate at the highest levels if we're not keeping our integrity. There's a big portion of the book about that as well, because it is just so very important. And I'll tell you what, I know our listeners say what?
I was going to interject, but go ahead. I'll tell you.
No, it's just for folks in the audience, because I know that listeners are some of those fears right now, especially that integrity part, right? So, and that fear doesn't care if you're wearing a uniform, if you run a company, or if you're a mom trying to hold everything together at home. Oftentimes, you're sitting at the edge of something that you've never done before. Maybe it's a big business decision. Maybe it's deploying overseas or stepping up as the steady leader for your family when life is feeling chaotic. Soccer practice runs, school stress, dinner battles, and trying to raise strong kids in a tough world with no roadmap and no one handing you the answers. So that fear hits the same for all of us. And that's exactly why we're here to talk about things. So,
Yeah. If I can tell this quick story, wait, I wear cowboy hats, so I fell in love with this culture some years ago, 2007, I think, and I bought a horse. And I live in a suburban neighborhood, but um, 10 minutes
but
down
you
the
also have
street,
property in Kentucky. So,
Kentucky, yeah, and some other spots as well. But Kentucky, I didn't think about that. Like those are different kind of people. Those aren't
mhm.
cowboys. Those are like Saudi princes.
You must be spending a lot of time in Lexington then, is what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
I'm in Lexington a lot. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was like, this is a whole different deal. You know what I mean? But uh, I met these urban cowboys, and they live like on the edge and whatever. Anyhow, city and country. But I bought a horse. His name was Pride, and his actual name was Pride. Seriously.
Pride goeth before a fall. I mean, come on, man.
So I bought this horse, and he is like, his hooves were overgrown. They were kind of growing out like this, way back, not taken care of. Horse was 750 with a trailer. It's crazy, right? So I load him up, bring him back. I learn about horses, feed him, get his hooves done with the farrier. I send him to a trainer, start figuring out this horse. Turns out Pride is a show horse. But Pride, as I find out, has a little lameness in one foot. Beautiful horse. He's bay with blonde hair. Gorgeous horse. I mean, stunning. Show horse has wonderful gaits, but he has this little tiny lameness issue. He can still walk. He can still move around pretty good, but he can never go full capacity. And I remember Pride, somebody asking to buy him. She gets on Pride. She has a bunch of pride. She thinks she's the best rider in the world. Pride, the 1,200-pound Pride, showed her the truth because he bucked her mid gallop, full out gallop. He bucked her mid gallop, and I'll never forget the sound she made when she hit the ground. And I turned to her boyfriend and go, "She's not buying that horse, is she?" So that ended that. But the funny thing about this, when you talk about integrity, Pride had this lameness, and you really couldn't ride him. You couldn't ride him. Now, when he wanted to, he could take off. He'll break out of his bridle. He'll break a he'll break an 8 foot 8 inch round beam out of the ground to get away, to do what he wanted to do. His power was only useful for exactly what he wanted. But I couldn't ride him. And I remember a lady coming to get this horse. She wanted to buy him. And she gets on him. She has a broken femur. So she mounts him by standing on the back of a pickup truck. She gets on the horse, sits down. I'm trying to explain to her that because of that lameness, he's going to be a little crazy. And he did have crazy eyes. My wife would never get near the horse. Underneath her, he immediately started to kind of show who he was. He's throwing his head, throwing his head, throwing his head. And I saw her do something that blew my mind. And I'm telling you, it goes back to integrity for me. She grabs the reins and she pulls herself into the horse more and pulls his head down. And he tossed again, and she did it again. He tossed 3 times, and she locked him down, and then rode this horse down the road and came back. She said, "I'll take him," and loaded him up and went. And I'm going, what the heck just happened? What was I missing that she had to deal with this horse? What was the other lady missing that rode him that he bucked? What the heck happened? And it goes back to Chuck Yeager. She knew something I didn't know. She knew a ton about horses. And when I look at integrity now and I think about Pride, he did not have the structural integrity to be a rideable horse. You know
Hmm.
what I mean?
Yeah, he
Uh,
was not able to perform at 100%.
he's not able to perform 100%. But I realized something with this lady. She was lighter than me. So I'm 295 pounds. She was lighter than me. She knew more than me. And she was able to counteract something that he had. And even though he's not 100% useful, she could tap into what was useful in the horse and then make him useful at 100% in a diminished role. And that to me is it's just so incredible when I look at like my integrity, I've failed at integrity in some ways, yet my wife still loves me. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
She knows how to help me operate at 100% of what's left. But the sad thing is, in business, we don't get to play that game. There's no wife. You know what I
Right.
mean? There's nobody to love you through it. No, you got to be at 100. Pride is not useful in business.
Yeah.
Pride was not useful. He's garbage when it came to, can he go be a show horse or a racehorse? No, Pride is garbage. But he'd be good as a companion horse in the pasture, and that's his 100%. Anyhow, I know it's a long story, but that horse changed my life. Absolutely changed my life.
And look, the point of this really is when I talk about leadership, I write about leadership, I train people, I work with companies. So that is really the role of the leader. That is what leaders do well, is that you're able to get the best out of your people, regardless of what kind of things that they bring into the situation. And great leaders do that. Great leaders realize that in this case, it's not the horse's fault. It's my job to figure out what the horse needs, right? And so that's a great story, actually, for talking about what great leadership is. So thanks. Perfect. If you're finding this useful, please hit the subscribe button and share this episode with one other leader that you know. That's how we grow this community and help more people achieve the impossible routinely. So let's talk about, is it truck? TRUC, right?
Hmm.
So not the spec sheet. So what's the problem that it solves? What's the specific gap in the logistics change that made you say somebody needs to build this and it's going to be us?
So specifically, it helps the Air Force get more onto a C-130 or C-17 or C-5 and get it loaded and unloaded faster. So it only takes up one pallet position, and it has the ability to carry any pallet that's on the airplane. So that's what makes it special. 100%. That's what makes it special.
What made you think of it?
The Air Force put out a request. They're like, we got to find some kind of way to move stuff better. And my brain was like, all right, skid steer and a flatbed wrecker. Put it together, you can move a pallet. It had to be a lot lighter than that, obviously, but skid steer and a flatbed wrecker. That was because you can make anything autonomous now, but that's how it came together. Was specifically that. Yeah.
So now you're building teams, especially with other companies that you're bringing in, right? That you have to execute on zero fail defense contracts, but you're not really a household name, so you can't recruit off of like a Lockheed badge. So how do you get people who are capable of operating at the zero fail level to bet on you as opposed to taking a job with a Lockheed or somebody like that?
Oh man, I will say there are some failures in picking people. There really are. Integrity is how I get people to bet. And one of the basic ways is you're never going to miss a paycheck. And I'm going to make this as easy for you as possible. I want you to have a great family life, home life, and I just want you to get the work done. So that's my big sales proposition. But I'll tell you, Robert, we still need better people. You know, the the best people from a talent standpoint are working somewhere. They are. It's the nature of it,
Hmm.
But it's taught me to also choose projects, choose the right project, and not try to go for every project. Because workforce is that's the business.
Hmm.
That's the business. I don't care what idea you have or how much money you have. If you can't find people to spend it on, you know, you're not gonna get anything. Nothing.
Yeah, if you can't find people who are going to be able to make your vision come to reality or that you can trust to operate autonomously when you're not around. Yeah, I mean, so I'm totally with you on that. I mean that's why I'm in the business that I'm in is that, there's just not enough people. There's just not enough. I could get every single person who ever was in the military before and have them go teach leadership and management. We still wouldn't have enough people out there teaching leadership and management. It's just not enough. So
No, not at all. No.
yeah. So your NGRS acquisition, Next Generation Rail Solution. So that's the first company you ever got?
Second,
Second. Okay. So what was the first one?
a drone company, a tethered drone company.
From there though into the rail system. So walk me through that decision, because from the outside, like, you're already a drone company and you're buying a rail engineering firm. So that's either like genius or madness. What did you see in that the market didn't?
You know, on the rail side, it was really about getting welders and fabricators for truck. They really had nothing to do with each other. On the drone side, it was just, I like drones. Let's see if we can make a go of it. They don't really go together on the surface, and until I found out how defense looked at rail. And trains are you're an army guy. DODX. The army has a ton of trains. I mean, every Bradley, every you name it, it's moving across the country on a train. And then the Navy missiles, the Trident missiles, the parts, the classified stuff that can't go over the road, yada yada yada. I can't talk about clearance type thing. I mean, there's a lot that moves on trains, and what's interesting about trains is they're largely autonomous nowadays. Drones, it was not there was no real big motivation until I found out that the government was going autonomous, and now I'm trying to find another company who makes drones to take our product and maybe join together. We go after more defense stuff because the field is wide open. It is
Well,
wide open.
and there is that, that big jump I talked about in the opening, that's a
Four
huge
billion.
jump in terms of budgeting. So
Yeah, I mean everybody's coming out with something, and I am I'm really debating on how to approach that. And the best model right now is to find a company who can make the stuff, acquire them, and put them in play with the government. That's really what I see.
good luck with that. I'm sure you've been successful enough with that. Hopefully you'll be able to do that too. So now you said Blue Gyra is built on faith, integrity, and family. So in a defense contracting environment where the currency is relationships, clearances, and political capital, how does that actually look like when it gets tested? Is there a specific moment where that foundation either held the line or cost you something? Now, we talked earlier.
Um, I we've had some situations. We were asked to do something. It's against the FARS. You know what I mean by FARS, right? It's against
Mhm.
the FARS. And it's the type of against the FARS that lands you in prison. It's
So
it's
for
a
our audience, FARS is the regulations that governs how we like companies do business with the government. Essentially, it's a whole bunch of rules about what you can and cannot do, and there's a lot of them that you have to sign off on. So yeah, please go ahead.
Somebody asked me to take a box and get it back to a place. And I said, "What's in the box?" And this was government stuff. What's in the box? Oh, nothing. Just a couple of gifts. I open the box and I see what's in the box. And I was going to say there was some gold involved. And I was like, I can't take the box. I can't do it. You know? Oh, it's fine. I called people. They're like, oh, play ball, play ball, play ball. And my faith, man, my integrity, everything was, I could see it. So imagine like a cartoon, like it comes to life and goes, this is that moment. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Where,
Yeah,
you can
I'm either
choose.
I'm either gonna step up or I'm gonna.
Yeah, yeah, man. And we lost a big customer because we lost a country as a customer because of that.
Wow.
And for some missiles actually that we were dealing with. I'll never forget it, man. I'll never forget it. The people I thought were super righteous were like, "No, play ball. This is how it's done." And and that theme came up again with them later. But that moment, and here's the funny thing, Rob. In that same room was USASAC, and their role was to censor everything that was being said between the countries and the people and the contractors. And I'm like, I ended up
You're like
meeting.
looking at them and saying hello. Like when are you gonna jump in here, right? So
Right, right. I ended up talking to him later. And when I understood what he had the capability to do, I was so glad I didn't take the box. Use the sack guy. The roles have been changing in the government, you know, with what their job descriptions really are. They've gotten broader. And this guy goes, I know everything about everybody in this room. I have access to anything and everything about your person. He's like, I got everything. And I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah." And I don't think he knew about the box, but I was so glad that I did not take that box and that my faith and my integrity were really they were worth enough to say no. And I battled with that for hours. I battled with it. because I want to
Yeah,
play
sounds
ball.
like it was a lot of money. Sounds like it was a lot of money and maybe a bunch of contracts later on too. I mean, that's the kind of thing that can maybe set you up for a long time. So,
Yeah, yeah, and I still think about it sometimes, but I think my decision. I've yet to see it pay out the way I want to see it pay out, but I think my decision was the right decision.
and this for the audience out there, right? So, I mean, somebody listening to this right now is in the middle of that exact same moment. You're standing at a crossroads where the easier path is right in front of you and you're deciding what you're really made of. So, maybe you're in a boardroom, maybe you're in a command post overseas, or maybe you're in your own kitchen at 6:30 p.m. after a long day and still got soccer bags on the floor and dinner to make and homework to check, and one of your kids is pushing every boundary you've set. So, what Randall just described isn't a faith story, it's a leadership story. So, the question is always the same. What are you going to do when it costs you something to hold the line? When would it be easier to give in, stay quiet, or take the short term piece? But deep down inside, that's not what real leaders do. All right. So, Randall, just one or two more questions. Give me the moment when Blue Gyra, when the mission looked actually impossible, like not hard, not challenging, but actually impossible. And your team pushed through to a result that surprised you. What broke that logjam?
So we have a division of the company that just does events for the government. We do sensitive meetings for the government. That's it. We get a call. They're like, "You guys need to arrange for the army and our army and the Korean army to meet together to go over a program regarding Black Hawk helicopters that they need more of. It starts in 4 days. Where where is it at?" They're like, in Korea in 4 days. Right. And I said, okay, all right, all right, I hear you. Okay. To call my team. Monique, she handles all of our sensitive meeting stuff. And I said, Monique, here's what we got to do. You got a passport? So yeah, I got a passport. We have to get an application in to the Korean government ahead of time. It takes more than 4 days. We have to get a contract done with the military. It takes more than 4 days. It was completely impossible. But in the 23rd hour, we got an email from the Korean government. You're good. Approved. We got a contract approved. Flights bought. All this stuff happened. And I'm like, there's no way. There's no way this is coming together. They get there, they set up, it goes off without a hitch. And we've had it every ever since then we've had that customer. And this was a truly, you can't do this in 4 days. You know what I mean? And this is not like life or death, but foreign
Still,
military.
everybody else would have thought it was impossible, right? Because it
Well,
probably
yeah. I
was.
mean, but these things foreign military sales are a big deal. And our allies rely on us to get them the tech so they can protect themselves. And you know, I'm like, I looked at it, looking back at it, like, it's impossible. But the government they came to know us as the group that just will make the impossible happen.
Yeah, that can achieve the impossible routinely. Yep,
Hmm.
that's what it is that I'm all about teaching people how to be able to do to achieve the impossible routinely. So good for
Hmm.
you, man. It's good that you're able to do that as well. People, when I say that, people are like, "No, you can't do that," right? And it's like, nope, nope, you can do that. You are if you got it set up right and you got the right team, you can achieve the impossible routinely. So
Yeah, 100%. I believe it, and I look at now. I look at my team, look at all the ups and downs, all the crap we've gone through, and I realize, Rob, I only want to be around people who believe in that. I do not want to be around people who can, achieve the impossible. Who don't believe you can do that. You got to be able to do that. That is everything. Like that is defining. Anybody can sell you a life insurance policy, but not everybody can come and save your life so you don't have to use the policy. You know what I mean? I love it. I love the impossible. When I talk to government now, I'm like, listen, give me your hardest, weirdest assignments.
huh?
Give me your worst, like you're never gonna get done stuff. Give me that stuff, and I'll be happy.
That's your opportunity because you know
Yeah,
you
one
can
hundred
do it.
percent.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, but
Because nobody else is
fear
going to
doesn't like
try
me
it.
that stuff,
So
Rob. Huh?
yeah, it's the stuff everybody else is afraid to do, right? So
Yeah,
it
yeah.
Yeah. So for our viewers, right, everything Randall and I are discussing today is about high level results, building teams, executing impossible contracts, scaling under pressure. If you want the actual mechanics we use to lead elite organizations, join us at our school.com community. That's SKOOL, and search for the Green Beret Way. We have lots of things to help you out there, lots of free tools and people that have the same issues that you do, and we'll work through them all. So all right, Randall. So we've done the heavy lifting on the mechanics of leadership defense. So now let's shift gears a little bit. So I don't know. Did you manage to have any bourbon today that we can do a toast with?
I got something else.
All right. Well, that's good.
Right
So
here,
what
guys.
I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pour some horse soldier bourbon since that was one of my impossible missions was starting
I'm
this
gonna
company.
grab my
So
I'm gonna grab my stuff.
okay.
All right.
All right. So this is a segment we call whiskey and war stories. So it's not about tactics. It's about personal stuff. So if you're ready, I got toast for you. So here's to achieving the impossible routinely. So,
Achieving impossible routinely. Love it.
all right. So give us a story about at some point when kind of the lights went on for you. Now, maybe you've already talked about it when it was with that Chuck Yeager flight. So, but it could be a massive event in the field, maybe one of those tiny butterfly moments in a hangar or a boardroom. But What's what's one experience that changed your entire paradigm as a leader and set you on the path you're on today?
Oh, well, there's a couple, but I'll give you one. I was 15 years old, 14 years old, or 19. I don't know. I was a teenager. My parents sent me skiing. Now I grew up in Montgomery, Alabama. There are no mountains there. You know, most black families did not ski, but in Montgomery, most people did not ski. So
Right,
I
right.
feel more, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I saw the chart, the board of ski levels, difficulties, and the lodge we were staying at was on top of Sugar Mountain, North Carolina, very top. You can kind of come out and ski down. Nobody was doing that because it was too difficult. I saw the black diamonds. I saw the green. I saw the blue, but I saw the black diamonds. Now my brain is funny. It wasn't the color that drew me. It wasn't the fact that it said difficulty level. It was the diamond shape. Only the diamond shape, you know? It drew me in. Went up the lift, got to the top, and I had this moment. I saw the entire mountain in front of me.
Had you been skiing before at all?
No, no, no. I learned to ski that day.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. Just getting down a black diamond for the first time. Yeah.
Dude, I see this mountain, man. I see like everybody that was at this resort was below me, and very few people would come up where I was. And I see everybody there, and I can still kind of remember. I can see myself on this mountain, and I don't think my parents understood the gravity of why they sent me there. I think they just said yes to something that was happening, but maybe they knew more. I don't know. If you ask my dad, he'll take credit for it, even if he didn't do it. Um, but I saw that entire mountain, man. I saw everybody, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go down the mountain. I went down it. Did it several times, but it didn't matter after the first time. It was doable and all that, but that's not what this is about. The aha moment for me was I was on top of the mountain and everything was beneath me. It,
You liked the view from up there?
yeah, it took impossible out of my vocabulary. It took I don't belong from out of my vocabulary. Not that I did deal with, I still dealt with that later on in life. Don't get me wrong, but I knew that if I could be up there, the highest point in that area, you know what I mean? Looking at everybody beneath me, forget the black diamond. I was up there, and that was I did not have that aha moment in an airplane, oddly enough. Um, but standing on those skis on top of the mountain, I saw it. I saw I saw what people strive to see, which is like I can do anything. It's beautiful.
Black diamond was you. You became the black diamond
Oh yeah. Oh, 100%.
early on in life. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You know what, Robert? I got to say, the cost of that aha moment was I acted different afterward. I was different.
Yeah. It changes your whole life, changes who you are, your whole perspective on everything.
Dude, I'm not, I did make friends well after that. And that everything was harder. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, and then I dealt with pride. I dealt with a lot of arrogance and everything like that. But even in those things, I realized that I needed that moment because alternatively, I would have been somebody else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this comes down to like, don't hide your light under a bushel basket. Once you realize that you have the potential to do big things, if you're not living up to that, then you're constantly at war with yourself, right? That's an integrity issue as well too, is to be able to live up to those things that you know that you can.
Hmm. Oh yeah, that's big. That's powerful, man. Like that's. I was fussing at this dude today about that. I was like, "You got all these ideas and you don't start anything. You can accuse me of starting too much, but I'm accusing you of not starting anything. Which one is worse? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, yeah, you got to live up to what's in you. That you're lying to yourself, man. Then you're asking other people to believe the lie with you, which is insane. But another tangent.
But you've obviously had enough people follow you to with whatever kind of insane stuff it is, and you're doing it. So that's what's going to get them to believe. So, well, look, man. So you got a 530-acre place in eastern Kentucky and a Kubota at home in Alabama. So are you secretly a farmer? Like, tell everybody something about you that everybody else doesn't know. Like, what does Randall Cottrell do when there's no contracts and no aircraft and no no manufacturing floors to walk, and your wife's giving you a little bit of time to do whatever you want?
Well, I love to fly, but if we're talking no aircraft, I love that tractor.
I thought you might. That's why I asked about it.
Tractor. That thing is just. I understand why people have orange or green or blue or red machines sitting out in their yard like it's a doggone playset. I, I can. That thing is so cool that because I'm able to express myself on it. I want to dig a hole like a kid. I can dig a hole. I want
Yeah.
to. I just tore out all my privacy fence using that tractor. I love it. I freaking love it. The sound of it, and I don't know. Are you a country music guy? All right. So I turned on. I get off the tractor one day. My wife is on the deck, and I turn on this song. She thinks my tractor's sexy.
Yep.
It really turns her on, and man, yeah. I'm not a farmer though. I'm not a farmer, but I will bush hog and I will move stuff and I will tear crap up, um, and then back drag it, try to fix it. Whatever it is. I love the tractor, and I think I'm gonna find some more other heavy equipment to play with, because it's awesome.
Good. Let's that little kid come out again, but with real toys, right? And not just those little ones you used to play in the sandbox. So
But yeah, but like a little kid, you can't touch my tractor. Don't ask to drive it. Don't ask to sit on it. You know what I mean? Like, don't touch the tractor. And this is the hat that I wear on my tractor. This is my summer hat, and my winter hat is in the closet. But my summer hat, man, like I'm on the tractor. Leave me alone. I'm happy. I'll sit on that thing for 4 or 5 hours straight. And I got my shooting my ear protection for shooting on, and it has are you a shooter by any chance?
yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I'm a Green Beret. I mean, we yeah,
I
tons of weapons. We shoot every time we can, man. So, but yeah,
Same here. I was full of stuff, but I bought those walkers with the where you can they're not just passive, so you turn them on, and so I could hear if somebody's coming up to me and whatever. I get in the zone. I also have my headphones on at the same time, listening to music, but then hear the tractor. I'm in love, man. That diesel exhaust of it. Well, yeah, yeah, 100%, man, 100%.
all
I'm
right.
looking for
Not a
overalls.
farmer, but a tractorman, right? We can
Yeah,
call you a
I'm looking
tractor.
for overalls. Once I get the overalls that fit me well, it's a done
It's
deal.
game over, right?
Oh
So,
yeah, 100%. It's over.
well, good. So, hey, we've covered a lot of ground today with Randall Cottrell. And if there's one thing I want you to walk away with, it's this: that the impossible doesn't care about your credentials, it only cares about whether you showed up. So the Pentagon just bet 54 billion on a future that has to be built by people like Randall, people who saw the gap before the money existed, who built the capability before the contract was signed, and who led without the brand name to lean on. This is what happens when you inoculate yourself against the fear that people experience every day when they're at work, right? So it freezes most organizations at the doorstep of the extraordinary. So you don't deny the mountain, you don't rush it recklessly. Nec timere, nec timide, right? You move deliberately with faith in the mission and clarity on the objective. So Randall's motto, that one I just gave you, right, is a Green Beret ethos that he arrived with on his own, right? Neither rashly nor timidly. It's not caution, it's calibrated courage. And that's the only thing that closes the gap between what the world needs and what currently exists. So if you're a leader right now staring at a mandate that looks impossible, look in the mirror. The question is not whether the mission is achievable. The question is whether you are ready to work against that fear that will tell you that it isn't. So go build something exceptional that doesn't exist yet. Because remember, the impossible only happens through exceptional. The best way to support this show is to grab a copy of my book, The Green Beret Way, on Amazon. And if you're looking to bring this type of epic leadership training to your organization, visit thegreenberetway.com. Lead when others can, win when others break. I'm Robert Schaefer, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, man.
Dude, that was awesome. Loved it.